sports talk show covering football and professional wrestling. I'm your host, the Encyclopedia of Sports, Cool Hand Luke 96. Be sure, if you haven't done so already, to like, follow, and subscribe to Gridiron Ring and myself, Cool Hand Luke 96, on social media. The links are in the description below. The WWE had the 2019 Superstar Shakeup a couple weeks back on both Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. And in my opinion, it was alright. We had some big moves, but mainly everything I thought was just average, with some mid-card superstars switching brands. We've also seen some moves since within the past 2 weeks, so that's why I'm recording this now, as April is officially over and WWE Money in the Bank is right around the corner on May the 19th. Also, some news came out about a new WWE pay-per-view, Stomping Grounds, which is going to be taking the place of Backlash at the end of June on June 23rd. So another subpar WWE pay-per-view name, but oh well, it is what it is. Also, WWE will be heading back to Saudi Arabia on June 7th with The Undertaker, Goldberg, and Brock Lesnar, among others, and then the next NXT TakeOver event will be on June 1st. This will be NXT TakeOver 25 on June the 1st, with matches like Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole for the NXT Championship, and as of now, a fatal four-way for the vacant NXT Tag Team Championships, as War Machine, the War Raiders, the Viking Raiders, the Viking Experience turned Viking Raiders officially dropped them, as they are now full-time up on the main roster. Fatal four-way between the Undisputed Era, Street Profits, Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, and the Forgotten Sons. So now, this is just a little recap of the past couple weeks of both Raw and SmackDown Live, with the shake-up moves, and then also at the end a full recap of both Raw and SmackDown Live from April the 29th and 30th in Lexington, Kentucky and Columbus, Ohio, respectively. Raw kicked off on April 15th, a week after WrestleMania 35, with Shane and Stephanie McMahon in the ring the first night of the Superstar Shakeup this year, before Shane got attacked from behind by The Miz. So The Miz, the A-lister himself, is once again on Monday Night Raw. Then Ricochet and Aleister Black came out for an 8-man tag team match, and they announced on commentary that the one and only and the Dutch Destroyer are now officially on Monday Night Raw as well, after wrestling on both Raw and SmackDown since their debut back in February after getting called up from NXT. Commercial break, and then an 8-man tag, as I said, with Aleister Black and Ricochet, with the current Raw Tag Team Champions, Hawkins and Ryder, versus the Revival, and the current NXT Tag Team Champions, Hanson and Rowe, War Machine, War Raiders, so we thought. The War Raiders are now being billed as the Viking Experience, and then a week later, on April 22nd, they changed their name once again to the Viking Raiders, with the Viking Experience name being their finishing maneuver name, which is somewhat disappointing, but WWE changes up superstars' names all the time, so I get it. Only time will tell if they'll end up going back to the War Raiders or not. Probably not, but we'll find out and see. So Eric and Ivor, Hanson and Rowe, War Machine, the War Raiders, now the Viking Raiders, are on Monday Night Raw. I'm going to be calling them War Machine, aka their original name, so hopefully everyone is alright with that. Video package then saying that the former Cruiserweight Champion, Cedric Alexander, will also be coming to Monday Night Raw. So Raw, in the first 40 minutes of the show, starts off with a bang, with a superstar coming over from SmackDown, tag team getting called up from NXT, and now a former Cruiserweight Champion from 205 Live coming to the red brand on Monday night. I also did live reactions of these episodes, so be sure to go watch the playback right here on YouTube and follow me on Periscope at CoolHandLuke96. WWE Money in the Bank live reactions Sunday, May the 19th. Finn Balor then had a match, and I really thought They're going to switch up the mid-card titles, but at this point it looked unlikely, but he still could appear on SmackDown the next night, also in Montreal, and I'll get to that here in a second. Spoiler, Balor did in fact end up getting switched to SmackDown and is still the Intercontinental Champion. Samoa Joe to Monday Night Raw, even though he didn't make his appearance until a week later because he was sick with the flu. So Balor had a match versus an opponent handpicked by the McMahon family. It ended up being Andrade Cien Almas Andrade. So Andrade, along with Zelina Vega, they are also now on Monday Night Raw. So we thought. I'll get to that here also in a second. Then next, a Elias segment before he gets interrupted by the little big man 619 Rey Mysterio. That's when Lars Sullivan came out and attacked Rey. Remember, Lars attacked Kurt Angle on Raw the week before, the night after WrestleMania, and then the Hardy Boys on SmackDown. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable before they got split up versus the Usos, who are now also on Raw. They had themselves a tag team match. Usos ended up winning and look to be at this point starting their march towards the Raw Tag Team Championships. Also right now in a feud with the Revival. This was also the last we ended up seeing of Bobby Roode in the WWE. More on that as well. In the main event, we'll be getting a 6-man tag team match with Seth frickin' Rollins, the Universal Champion, and Roman Reigns, along with a mystery partner versus the heel team, the heel stable of Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and the almighty Bobby Lashley. Also looks like the man of the hour himself, Leo Rush, is done with WWE unless they're playing everyone, and this is an absolute tragedy in my opinion because he is awesome. Please, WWE, find a way to get him back in the fold, whether you let time pass by, team him back up with Lashley, send him to 205 Live, maybe back down to NXT, because man, he can wrestle, but in my opinion as well, he's better on the mic and one of the best on the mic right now in the entire company, but we'll see what ends up happening. A Moment of Bliss was next with Sami Zayn, who returned the week prior on the Raw after Mania. They are in his hometown of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Still doesn't look like they have him paired up with anyone in a feud either, so we'll see what happens there. The Iconics had a tag team match as well versus Bayley and her partner Naomi, who came over from SmackDown, who is now also on Raw, but this is only because of the Usos being brought over. I don't think anyone really wants to feel the glow anymore though either. If they ever did, I know I sure as hell never did. So Naomi on Monday Night Raw. Then EC3 got absolutely demolished by Braun Strowman. They then show a graphic of all the moves so far to Raw, and just out of the blue, Eric Young from Sanity is on that picture, just by himself. So it looks like Sanity is officially done, and EY is back by himself. Alexander Wolf then got shipped to NXT UK a couple days later, and then Killian Dane, who knows what they'll do with him, maybe back down to NXT, which I do believe I did see later on there. So I believe Killian Dane is back down in NXT. Ship him back over, or ship him to NXT UK as well for the hell of it. I wouldn't mind that. If anybody does know anything about Killian Dane, let me know in the comments below. Becky Lynch then defeated Ruby Riott. Riott Squad then was also somewhat split up. Natalya then wanted a Raw Women's Championship match from Becky Lynch, but so does Lacey Evans. They have a match to determine the number one contender, and Lacey Evans, the sassy Southern Belle, ended up winning. A week later then, the April 22nd episode of Raw, it was announced that Becky will have 2 matches at Money in the Bank. One versus Lacey Evans for the Raw Women's Championship, and the other versus Charlotte for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship after Charlotte defeated Bayley on SmackDown, as Bayley is on SmackDown. I'll get to that here as well here in a second. Bray Wyatt vignettes were shown throughout the entire show of Raw and then SmackDown the next night, which led to the Firefly Funhouse a week later on the 22nd episode. and I'll touch more on that here in a second. Main event then was next, and the mystery partner for the six-man tag with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns versus Corbin, McIntyre, and Lashley ended up being the phenomenal AJ Styles, who is now on Monday Night Raw for the first time ever, full time. A lot of talk then leading into SmackDown the next night on who would be moving to the blue brand. That six-man tag, the faces won. Rollins, Reigns, and Styles ended up picking up the victory. SmackDown kicked off, though, the next night with the Kevin Owens show, and Big O, Kevin Owens, ended up joining the New Day as a replacement for Big E for now, because he is out with a knee injury. Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura with Cesaro versus the New Day, the new New Day, with Big O, previously Big K, then Big O, is the main event. Another six-man tag in the main event. Sheamus out of action right now with a concussion, so hopefully Cesaro gets a push. He appeared on Raw then the following week and faced off versus Cedric Alexander in his first match on Raw. Don't remember, because obviously 205 Live was on Raw for a while there before they did away with that. I don't remember, though, if Alexander ever wrestled on Raw. He might have, but now officially, once again, he is back on Raw. Wrestled Cesaro in either his first match ever on Raw or his first match back, but they're going to say first match ever. They're going to disregard what happened in the past. Then this is where Finn Balor appears on SmackDown, so we'll get Blue Balor every week now on the blue brand. Finn Balor is now on SmackDown Live. Lars Sullivan took out R-Truth after the Carmella-Charlotte match that the Queen ended up winning. Lars is now solely on SmackDown Live. 8-woman tag team match as well with Bayley, Ember Moon, Asuka, and Kairi Sane, who are also all now on SmackDown, versus the women's tag team champions, the Iconics, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, and Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, Fire and Desire. Buddy Murphy also announces he'll be coming over from 205 Live to SmackDown Live. Vince McMahon announcement then, and we finally found out who the biggest acquisition in SmackDown Live history would be. Ladies and gentlemen, Elias. That's when the big dog then, Roman Reigns, came out and Superman punched both Elias and the boss himself, Vince McMahon, and announced that SmackDown Live is his yard now. They obviously think putting Roman on SmackDown and using Vince to get him over is going to work. It might, but we'll see. Although AJ for Roman, two main event superstars getting switched from Raw to SmackDown, SmackDown to Raw, respectively, is a fairly decent trade. Roman will probably end up winning the WWE Championship at SummerSlam, if not sooner, from either Kofi Kingston or someone else. Raw then hit the Architects' home turf, the Hawkeye State of Iowa, as they were in Des Moines, Seth Rollins' home state, and it kicked off with the game himself, Triple H, who I guess now has his own landscaping business as well. I saw a picture the other day, and it was real, it wasn't photoshopped or anything. It looked to be an actual truck wrapped with the company name, Triple H spelled out, Triple H Landscaping. So now I guess it's time to mow the lawn. Anyways, Raw kicked off with Triple H in his first appearance since WrestleMania after he defeated the Animal Batista. So from this episode of Raw, we had two triple threat matches, and both winners would then face off, and they did versus one another in the main event to determine Seth Rollins' new number one contender for the Universal Championship at Money in the Bank. So Triple H is in the ring, and then he's joined by all 6 competitors who are in those two triple threats. AJ Styles versus Rey Mysterio versus Samoa Joe, who is now also on Raw. He didn't come over initially during the shakeup the week before due to being sick, but since Balor went to SmackDown, Joe has to now come to Raw, and the mid-card titles have switched brands, Intercontinental Champion on SmackDown and United States Champion on Raw. The other triple threat then was the Miz versus Baron Corbin versus Drew McIntyre. Rollins was also in the ring during the opening segment and said he really didn't care who would win and become the new number one contender because he's Seth frickin' Rollins and he's gonna burn it down. AJ and Corbin, they ended up winning their respective triple threat matches and faced off in the main event, with Styles winning and becoming the new number one contender for Seth Rollins' Universal Championship at Money in the Bank on May the 19th. I'll be live on Periscope doing live reactions of my favorite pay-per-view, Money in the motherfucking Bank, so be sure to tune in. Cedric Alexander versus Cesaro, as the Swiss Superman is back to being a singles competitor, as I mentioned earlier, with Sheamus on the shelf with a concussion. Viking Raiders, as they changed their name once again, they faced off versus Lucha House Party. Cesaro and War Machine, they both won their matches as expected. Then Becky Lynch defeated Alicia Fox, who needs cut as soon as possible because she literally cannot wrestle to save her frickin' life. But then Lacey Evans attacked Becky 2 belts from behind, and it'll now be Lynch versus Evans at Money in the Bank for the Raw Women's Championship, as I mentioned earlier as well. Ricochet is a singles competitor once again, as Aleister Black was shipped to SmackDown along with Andrade and Zelina Vega after initially all being put on Raw during the shakeup. I guess Fox, one of them, switched back over to SmackDown, as the new Fox deal will be coming into play come October. Ricochet faced off versus Robert Roode. Yes, you heard that correctly. Robert Roode. No more Bobby Roode. Robert Roode. He shaved his beard, so now he just has a mustache. Looks like a Rick Rude and a Joey Ryan and a 70s porn star, but the whole glorious gimmick is still the same, which is good. I'm glad they didn't change that, but Roode is back to being a heel, as Chad Gable got shipped to SmackDown. So Robert Roode is on Raw. Robert Roode. His real name, Robert Roode, and he has a mustache. Next then, Blue's Clues mixed with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Let me introduce you to Bray Wyatt's Firefly Funhouse. Mercy the Buzzard was there, along with Abby the Doll, Sister Abigail, who we were seeing in the vignettes in recent weeks, but then Bray got a chainsaw out and cut his own head off of a cardboard cutout of himself. He actually trimmed up his beard as well. It's really, really short. Probably shorter than mine, to be honest with you. Now, this, in my opinion, can work if the WWE, plays their cards right and they let Bray do what Bray wants to do. Definitely a different side of Bray Wyatt and the WWE. So we'll see what happens with this. I think a lot of people are going to like it, to be honest with you. But if they play their cards right, I think it can work. If they don't give them enough time, if they play around with it too much, they'll fuck it up. And Bray Wyatt's going to be back to being a nobody, which is sad and unfortunate. So hopefully this is what will rejuvenate his career. AJ then defeated Baron Corbin in the main event before we had a face-to-face with Rollins and Styles, because at Money in the Bank, it'll be the two of them battling it out for the Universal Championship. So in 2 weeks, Styles came over to Raw. He was in the main event, 6-man tag. He was on Rollins' team with Reigns. They defeated Corbin, McIntyre, and Lashley. But then a week later, Styles, still in the main event of Raw, defeated Corbin and then had a face-to-face with Seth Rollins, who he will be facing off first at Money in the Bank for the Universal Championship. So AJ Styles clearly over. Clearly. He's been over since basically he came to the company 3.5 years ago now. Who else got moved during the Superstar Shakeup? Jinder Mahal got moved to SmackDown last week, along with the Singh brothers, but then the Bollywood boys got shipped to 205 Live, which is where they belong and probably should have been this entire time, but they were a good side piece for Jinder for a while, but time to move on. Kevin Owens also turned heel on Kofi Kingston during the April 23rd episode of SmackDown Live. That was the last time I did live reactions. I'll be doing more live reactions coming up very, very soon with Money in the Bank and other pay-per-views. And then come football season, college and NFL games. So follow me on Periscope, CoolHandLuke96. But that would be the last, I believe the last wrestling video I have right here on the channel. So go check out my live reactions of Kevin Owens turning heel on Kofi Kingston on SmackDown. Now I know I repeated myself a little bit throughout this so far, but like I said, I also did live reactions play-by-play of those Raw and SmackDowns that I just went over, as I said earlier. But now that I'm all caught up and WWE finally has their mind made up, sorta, on who got moved during the Superstar Shakeup this year, let me myself, CoolHandLuke96, recap both Raw and SmackDown Live then from April 29th and 30th, 2019. The goddess Alexa Bliss kicked off Raw with a moment of bliss to announce the participants from Raw in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. As she walked down the ramp, they announced there will be a Universal Championship contract signing later on with Seth Rollins and AJ Styles. Briefcases are above the ring during a moment of bliss, as Money in the Bank is less than 3 weeks away at the XL Center in Hartford, Connecticut. I will be live on Periscope doing live reactions play-by-play, so be sure to tune in. 2 ladder matches. We'll see a men's and a women's with 8 participants. Once again, 4 from Raw and 4 from SmackDown. So Alexa is out to announce the 4 men from Raw who will be competing in this year's Money in the Bank ladder match. And if you win, you can cash in wherever and whenever you want, as 81% have cashed in and won. The past 2 years, though, unfortunately, as Braun Strowman won last year, Baron Corbin the year before, when they cashed in, they were unsuccessful in doing so. So Braun Strowman, he'll get another chance though this year, as he will be in this year's men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Once again, Braun Strowman, he won last year, as I just mentioned, and also just won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal this year at WrestleMania. Next, the one and only Ricochet, the Scottish psychopath Drew McIntyre, and then Baron Corbin, who is the former acting general manager of Raw, a former Golden Gloves boxing champion, and also a former Money in the Bank winner as well 2 years ago in 2017. Strowman in 18, as I said, they both of their cash-ins were unsuccessful. So Ricochet, during this opening segment with the 4 competitors who are now in the ladder match, along with Alexa Bliss, who is out there for a moment of bliss, Ricochet brings up that Corbin won, but his cash-in was unsuccessful. Drew, now pissed off at Baron Corbin for costing him his match, Drew also tells Ricochet to shut up and to stick to his high-flying moves and leave the grown-up talk to us. Braun then tells everyone to shut up. He goes on by saying, "None of you has what it takes to stop me. I am Mr. Monster in the Bank." Then Braun, he wants a tag team match with Ricochet versus Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre to give them a little preview of what's going to happen at Money in the Bank. Well, let me tell you something there, Braun. First things first, to win Money in the Bank, you have to climb the ladder and grab the briefcase to win. It's not a tag team match. I think you should already know that since you won last year, but I get it. Obviously, they're just setting up the tag team match to kick off Raw after a moment of bliss. So they went to commercial break. They came back, and the tag team match gets underway. On commentary, Michael Cole announces during the match that Alexa Bliss will return later on in the night to announce the women's participants in the Money in the Bank women's ladder match. Corbin, he tags himself in late, and Drew ended up turning then at that point. Corbin took a power slam from Braun at that point, and then a shooting star from Ricochet before Ricochet and Braun Strowman picked up the win. Double Trouble then is advertised for the man Becky Lynch, as she has to face both Lacey Evans and Charlotte in 2 separate matches at Money in the Bank for the Raw Women's and SmackDown Live Women's Championships. Alexa Bliss also with a moment of bliss to announce the Women's Money in the Bank participants, as Michael Cole announced on commentary during that tag team match to kick off Raw. Also, Miz TV with the almighty Bobby Lashley. And then the Usos, they ended up coming out. They actually sang their theme song, so something new. We'll have to see if they continue to do that or not. And then the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, come out. They are back on Monday Night Raw. It's the Uso Penitentiary versus the Good Brother Penitentiary in a tag team match. So some more tag team action on Monday Night Raw. As Big Luke, that's what they're calling him now. He was wearing a t-shirt, Big LG. So Luke Gallows, if you're out there listening, I actually hit you up on Twitter for this. I would like one of those shirts of Big LG, as my initials are LG. So, nice t-shirt. So, if you're listening, send one my way. CoolHandLuke96 on Twitter. So, Big Luke and Machine Gun Carl Anderson. I threw that in there for the hell of it because that's his nickname from over in New Japan, but they're still calling him in WWE just Carl Anderson. So, Big Luke and Machine Gun Carl Anderson are now bulletproof since they are on Raw. They actually said that in one of the couple new videos that was actually a promo down in the bottom left-hand corner during the entrances for the Superstars. So something different. Obviously, it's not bad to try new things out. So Big Luke and Machine Gun Carl Anderson, as I said, they are now bulletproof. They announced that since they are back on Raw during another move in this year's Superstar Shakeup. Usos, they ended up picking up the victory, though, after a double super kick and then a frog splash to Big Luke Gallows. They then cut a promo afterwards and show a video of the Revival actually, and yes, you're going to hear this correctly, shaving each other's backs in the shower from earlier in the day. Dash Wilder was actually shaving Scott Dawson's back. Yes, you heard that correctly. I am not making this shit up. I wish I was, but I'm not. Revival then come out. They go on by saying, every once in a while you get some body hair and it needs shaved. Except when you have all the muscles, the Revival do need some help. They also announced the Revival they have a match versus the Raw Tag Team Champions Hawkins and Ryder later on Raw. So another tag team match later on in the evening. It was actually a pretty funny segment, to be honest with you. And for what it looks like, it's going to be the start of a feud between the two tag teams of the Revival and the Usos, as they are also now on Raw, coming over during the initial day, the initial first night of the Superstar Shakeup this year. Rey Mysterio, Samoa Joe, they advertise that. Also show some highlights from their match from WrestleMania. Then we hear awesome. Miz TV is next with the almighty Bobby Lashley. Miz says it's good to have Miz TV back on Raw and that he feels rejuvenated since the Superstar Shakeup. Bobby Lashley is only going to answer the questions he wants to answer, though. So Lashley's potential, he's been back in the WWE for only a year, and he's a two-time Intercontinental Champion. However, he just lost to Finn Balor at WrestleMania. And then Miz, too, by the way, he let everybody know, reminded everybody, that he is a 8-time Intercontinental Champion, a 7-time Tag Team Champion, a 2-time United States Champion, and a WWE Champion. But however, the list goes on and on. And then Lashley says, what you didn't do at WrestleMania, you didn't beat Shane McMahon. Well, Bobby, you lost too, as I said there a moment ago. You lost to the Demon Finn Balor. Balor, Intercontinental Champion once again, over on SmackDown now. Then Miz attacks Lashley after Bobby disowns his father, George Mizanin, Mr. Potato Face. Miz versus Bobby Lashley is next after the commercial break. And then Shane O'Mac came out during the match, and Lashley ended up winning after Shane called for a picture of Miz's dad on the Jumbotron, which caused the distraction, which led to the spear from Lashley on the Miz to win. Shane and Miz go at it then after the match, and Shane stands tall, announcing that he is still the best in the world. At that point as well, some more CM Punk chants. Now, if this does lead to a Punk return for the best in the world, I would love it, as I think a lot of people would, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. So I'm sorry to say that, but I don't think it's going to be happening anytime soon. But who knows? CM Punk could be all in. If anything, Punk, he probably would go to AEW, to be honest with you, depending on how they do when they start up here with Double or Nothing, Memorial Day weekend. Who knows, though? He could very well come back to WWE and work a reduced schedule, like some other superstars. So, also a SmackDown Live preview at this point during the commercial break. Kofi Kingston will kick off SmackDown with a response to Kevin Owens. I'll get to that here in a second. Also, the participants from SmackDown will be announced for the Money in the Bank ladder matches. War Machine, aka the Viking Raiders, in a tag team match. The Raid is here on Raw, they announce, in another one of those videos, another one of those promos during their entrance down in the left hand corner. So they did that a couple times during this episode of Raw. So once again, another tag team match. So I believe, if I'm counting correctly, this is 3, and then we'll have another one for sure to make that 4. So they really went all out with tag team wrestling on Raw, April the 29th. And by the way, if you didn't know, Eric is the bald one, and Ivor is the one with the long beard in the new tag team of the Viking Raiders, formerly known as War Machine. Lucha House Party, though, their opponent, they attacked from behind during the introductions, which led to their tag team match. War Machine, they ended up winning with a Viking experience. Then the best thing WWE has going for it right now, Firefly Funhouse, that is advertised for later on. Next, though, a moment of bliss once again with Alexa Bliss, who will announce the women from Raw in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Natalya, Dana Brooke, Naomi, and then Alexa Bliss. But then Naomi wants a match versus Alexa. I would, but I don't want to. Alexa still in basically regular street clothes for a moment of bliss. Ended up leading to a match. Alexa just wrestled with normal clothes on, not in her wrestling attire. But first, we had Firefly Funhouse with Bray Wyatt, which is basically just a spin-off, in my opinion at least. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys have thought of Firefly Funhouse so far in the WWE with Bray Wyatt. It's basically just a spin-off of Blue's Clues with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and now also the Joy of Painting with Bob Ross. So it is very, very interesting, I think. And like I said earlier, I think if they give it some time, if they play their cards right, I think it's going to work. So Blue's Clues, Mr. Rogers, Bob Ross. Who would have thought in 2019 this would be going on in the WWE of all places? But it has a twisted side to it as well this week. Bray was painting a portrait of a burning house, actually the Wyatt family compound, and then he taught everybody how to spell sociopath. So that's SOCIOPATH, if you did not know. Sociopath. Also, a new creature was introduced, Ramblin' Rabbit. So it's Ramblin' Rabbit, Mercy the Buzzard, Abby the Witch, and of course, your host. Well, I'm Colehan Luke 96. Wish I was doing something like Firefly Funhouse because it's awesome. Like I said, it's probably the best thing the WWE has going for it right now. But also the Eater of Worlds, Bray Wyatt, on Firefly Funhouse. Now, as I've stated before, I believe this has some serious potential. Like I said just a moment ago as well, if they play their cards right and give it time, I think it'll work. Now, yeah, at first, when I first saw it, I was like, what the hell is this? But it is pretty cool. It's funny. It's interesting. So hopefully it'll work and get Bray back on top, a place that he has not been in quite a while. I know it just started, but I'm waiting for Bray to turn heel and just go absolute berserk, go nuts. I think people would like that too, to be honest with you. As I said, let me know in the comments below what you guys have thought so far of WWE Firefly Funhouse. But remember, my Fireflies, as always, I will light the way. So as I said, Naomi Alexa Bliss was next after this. Naomi ended up winning. Not really anything spectacular, to be honest with you. Rey Mysterio then backstage getting interviewed along with his son Dominic, who, if the reports are true, he has signed a WWE contract as well. That's why he's been on TV a lot the past, we'll say month and a half. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know if he's going to get any physical altercations with his dad or Samoa Joe, or basically whoever Rey's going up against. But we'll see. I mean, he's a big guy, so Vince probably likes him. He just has to be sweaty. So enough with that. Becky Lynch, she was actually interviewed in the ring about Lacey Evans and Charlotte as well. As I said, at Money in the Bank, she will have 2 different matches versus both competitors. So the sassy Southern Belle, Lacey Evans, she actually came out and attacked Becky. And then they show a graphic, one of the first graphics, for Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans at Money in the Bank. And then also in the main event, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles. I would assume that's going to be the main event of Money in the Bank, but the main event of Raw here this evening, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Universal contract signing. Hawkins and Ryder, though, versus the Revival was next in another tag team match on Raw. So I believe that is 4, if I'm counting correctly. If you guys are keeping track, comments below, as usual. So during the match, we had some shave your back chants, which were pretty funny. But Hawkins and Ryder, they ended up winning after a quick roll-up pin, otherwise now known, according to Michael Cole, which probably came direct from Vincent Kennedy McMahon. A quick roll-up pin now with the Revival is now known as a backslide. Yes, you heard that correctly, a backslide, which just adds more fuel to the fire. Miz interview backstage. He actually challenges Shane to a steel cage match at Money in the Bank. Sami Zayn, though, with psychological entitlement. I like Sami Zayn as a heel, to be honest with you, but I don't know if I like this type of heel Sami Zayn. What he's saying is true. I'll give him credit for that, but I would just like to see who he's going to be going up against in a feud, just to get a better look at what he's doing right now, because like I said, he still really doesn't have an opponent. If that makes sense. Hopefully I said that correctly. So give it time, I think. Hopefully they pair him up with somebody, decent, I guess. But we'll see what happens with Sami Zayn. He also goes on by saying we will get whatever Sami Zayn gives us in the near future. So, as I said, we'll see what happens, but it's time that Sami takes the power back. Shane then accepts The Miz's challenge via Twitter because storyline-wise on TV they said he already left the building. Whether he did or not, he was probably backstage in a gorilla position next to his father, but who knows. So at Money in the Bank, it'll be Shane McMahon versus The Miz in a steel cage match. Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio is next in the co-main event, and Rey actually won with a quick roll-up pin. But up next in the main event, the Universal Championship contract signing. It was actually an average contract signing until the end. Went a little too long, I thought, but they got their point across to promote Money in the Bank on May the 19th. Both signed the contract and then a face-to-face before Styles attacked the Beast Slayer and then hit a phenomenal form on Rollins through the table, and that's how Raw ended. In my opinion, it was an alright episode of Raw. A lot of tag team matches, I believe 4 if I'm not mistaken, and also talking segments with a moment of bliss, Miz TV, and then also a contract signing in the main event. So Styles stands tall, which probably means he's going to lose, but not clean, I still don't think, at Money in the Bank. I think at Money in the Bank, Brock Lesnar will be coming back and will attack Seth Rollins, which will set up their match for Saudi Arabia, which is on June the 7th. Keeps the title on Rollins at that point and saves AJ for a rematch down the road. To me, that makes sense. I mean, who knows what they'll do, but that's how I would book it, but we'll see what WWE decides to do here within the next couple weeks. As I said a couple times already, I will be live on Periscope as well, doing live reactions, play-by-play of Money in the Bank, so be sure to follow me at CoolHandLuke96 on Twitter and Periscope, and also be sure to tune in and watch on May the 19th. SmackDown Live now this past week. Kofi Kingston kicked off SmackDown by getting interviewed in the ring by Michael Cole. We actually flash back to Elimination Chamber back in February. Then also last month on SmackDown as well, when Kofi won the right to face Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship, which he ended up winning. Flashback to WrestleMania as well, when Kofi defeated Daniel Bryan to become the new WWE Champion. Kofi says, other than getting married and having his kids, winning the WWE Championship at WrestleMania is the best thing that has ever happened to him. Recap then as well of what happened last week on SmackDown when Kevin Owens turned on Kofi Kingston. Kofi says he blames himself actually for not seeing the heel turn coming from Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is going to be Kevin Owens. You're damn right, Kofi Kingston. Kevin Owens is going to be Kevin Owens. Kofi says bring on Kevin Owens. Kofi wants Owens at Money in the Bank for the WWE Championship. And then on commentary, as Kevin Owens is making his way down the ring, here comes the devil himself, according to Corey Graves, Kevin Owens. Challenge accepted, Kofi. Moments end. So who cares that you won at WrestleMania? And none of these people believe that you're championship material either. Kevin Owens is, though. You're damn right Kevin Owens is championship material. Former Universal Champion, Intercontinental Champion, United States Champion, NXT Champion too, by the way. Just has never been a WWE Champion before. Who knows, maybe he wins at Money in the Bank to become WWE Champion. I highly doubt it, but we'll see. Then Xavier Woods attacks KO from behind at the entrance. Owens was standing at the top of the entrance talking to Kofi during the opening segment, this promo that took place. So Xavier Woods attacks, and then Owens actually hit a super kick to Xavier before getting chased off by Kofi Kingston. They advertised for later on in the night the Superman punch heard around the world with the big dog himself, Roman Reigns. Also a Hardy Boys announcement. Bayley then comes out, commercial break. Kofi actually backstage in the medical area talking to Xavier Woods. They were in Columbus, Ohio at the Ohio State University. So all you Buckeye fans, OHIO. Bayley versus Becky Lynch, though, is next for the first time ever on SmackDown Live. The man, Becky Lynch, ended up winning, but then got attacked by Charlotte Flair after the match. Then we had another Aleister Black promo. Hardy Boys, who are the SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions at that point in time, came out. Jeff Hardy actually on crutches. Then they show a video of Lars Sullivan destroying superstars left and right, and I guess that's how Jeff Hardy got injured. Even though you watch it, there's no way in hell Lars Sullivan destroyed the knee of Jeff Hardy. Jeff announces, though, that he'll be out of action for a very, very long time. 6 to 9 months, actually, he announced on social media. As of right now, as I said, the Hardy Boys are still your SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions, but however, they had to give up those championships. They had to relinquish the SmackDown Live Tag titles. That's when the Gene Snitsky lookalike Lars Sullivan came out. Lars Sullivan attacked Matt Hardy, and then Jeff a little bit as well. Jeff, in the meantime, stayed in the ring, and then was about to get hit by Lars with his crutch before R-Truth came out to make the save. So Jeff, he got touched maybe once, but Matt took all the heat, and then R-Truth, as I said, came out, made the save as well, hit Lars in the back with a steel chair. That's when Lars actually punched the chair out of Truth's hand and hit a power slam and a power bomb on Ron Killings. Matt Hardy then announced he will be competing on his own, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't and then just becomes a backstage producer. Kevin Owens show with Xavier Woods, which, thinking to myself at this point, very, very weird why they're doing this, but we'll see what happens, I guess. Actually was pretty funny. I'll get to it here in a second. We'll also find out the 4 SmackDown superstars for both men's and women's Money in the Bank ladder matches. Okay, so the announce team, just Byron Saxton basically, announced the SmackDown participants in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Like, come on, you couldn't have announced it in a different way. You literally had to have Byron Saxton do it. Like, why? Did he have something in his contract saying he had to do this? Like, give me a break. Ali, Intercontinental Champion Finn Balor, Andrade, Randy Orton. So, Braun Strowman, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, and Baron Corbin. Wouldn't have a problem with any of those winning. I think anybody from Raw, though, it's going to be Drew or Corbin. And then, I mean, I really wouldn't have a problem with anybody from SmackDown winning except for Ali. I don't like Ali. They might give him a push, though, finally, because he got injured, and then Kofi took his spot, faced Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. But Finn Balor, I wouldn't mind. I mean, he's an Intercontinental Champion, though, right now, so I highly doubt it. Randy Orton, former Money in the Bank winner. Wouldn't mind. And then Andrade. I guess Vince is very, very high on him right now because he's getting better at speaking English, so... especially with having Zelina Vega, Aleister Black's wife, as his manager right there by his side. Always helps out as well. Her good looks. She can talk extremely well on the mic as well. So I would say Drew would be the front runner on Raw, and then Andrade on SmackDown, and then it would go Corbin, probably Orton, and then Balor. Balor tied with Ricochet, and then Strowman, and then Ali. would be the order I would put this year's, as of now. Obviously, I changed my mind a lot. As of now, though, that's probably the order I would put it. So, what do you guys think about this year's men's Money in the Bank ladder match? Let me know who you guys think will win down in the comments below. Finn Balor, though, and Ali versus Randy Orton and Andrade is announced. So, a tag team match on SmackDown, just like they did on Raw the night before with this year's competitors in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Women's tag action is next, though, with Asuka and Kairi Sane, along with Paige versus some jobbers from the Columbus area, some enhancement talent who were already in the ring. So, Iconics, they were ringside on commentary. Asuka and Kairi won. Surprised the Iconics didn't get involved, but they didn't. Sonya Deville, though, and Mandy Rose then backstage. Mandy thinks Sonya should be in the ladder match, but Sonya thinks Mandy should be in. So Mandy Rose is now in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Up next, though, the big dog, Roman Reigns. Recaps from the past 2 weeks with Roman coming over to SmackDown and taking out Elias and Vince McMahon. Then Shane and Elias attacking Roman last week. Roman accepted Elias' challenge as well, so at Money in the Bank, it'll be Roman Reigns versus Elias. Roman is still the big dog, and SmackDown Live is his yard. Here comes the money, here comes Shane O'Mac, Shane McMahon. Greg Hamilton introduces Shane at his own request. So the best in the world, Shane McMahon. For right now, at least. The McMahon family owns all the land, as Shane reiterates that he is the best in the world. I thought that was definitely a shot towards AEW and any other wrestling promotions around the world. Shane also with a shot towards Ohio State, as I said, they were in Columbus for SmackDown on April the 30th, saying that he's going to go up north and train with Coach Harborough and the Wolverines to get ready for Miz at Money in the Bank. Well, it's Coach Jim Harbaugh, Shane, okay? And the Michigan Wolverines. But I get what you're saying. Corey Graves actually corrected him on commentary as well. So Shane actually introduces the B team, as they are now on SmackDown. So I guess the trade was B team for the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson. They're still doing moves with the Superstar Shakeup, even though it's, at this point, 2 weeks later. So the B team, though, versus Roman in a handicap match is next, with your special guest ref enforcer, ladies and gentlemen, Elias. So Elias was just the special guest ref enforcer. Actual ref was Mike Chioda. Elias was ringside as the ref enforcer. Roman won the match after a lot of detours from Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel of the B team and Elias, but Roman still found a way to win. Roman versus Elias at Money in the Bank. Kevin Owens show with Xavier Woods coming up here very, very shortly. Finn Balor talking with Andrade backstage. And then next, just the same Firefly Funhouse from Monday Night Raw with Bray Wyatt is shown on SmackDown. Then the tag team match with Finn Balor and Ali versus Randy Orton and Andrade. That Balor and Ali won. Then Ember Moon announced she is also a participant, along with Carmella, in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match this year. And those two, along with Alexa Bliss, right now are my picks to win this year's women's Money in the Bank ladder match. So Ember Moon, Carmella, Alexa Bliss. Ember Moon, Alexa Bliss, Carmella in that order. We'll say that. Bayley also in the match from the SmackDown side, along with the 4 women that were announced on Raw. WWE Championship also at Money in the Bank will be Kofi Kingston versus Kevin Owens. Now, welcome to the Kevin Owens Show. Kevin is in a office chair. Barstool was set up for Xavier Woods, who didn't even appear on the show. This is the Kevin Owens Show, and I am the show, and this is all I need, unlike what he's had in the past. Kevin Owens is positive that he will beat Kofi at Money in the Bank. Yeah, he might, and I would love him to. If Kevin Owens wins, he's going to win by DQ, which would mean Kofi would retain, and then Kevin Owens would unfortunately not become WWE champion. But Owens, he does have a plan B. I wonder where he got that from. Triple H, June 2014. Later on in that episode of Raw, after Batista left, after the Shield versus Evolution once again, that's when Seth Rollins turned on the Shield. So Owens has a plan B. He pulls out an Xavier Woods action figure, which was hilarious. Kevin Owens is the best. Big E action figure as well. Kevin actually kicks the chair over and then calls them trash during the Kevin Owens show, which they are. And then that's when Kofi appears at the entrance. Then he rushes towards the ring to take out Kevin Owens to end SmackDown Live, to end April in the WWE. So the next couple weeks we'll be entering May, and then we'll have Money in the Bank, NXT TakeOver 25, the Saudi Arabia show, Stomping Grounds at the end of June that I announced earlier. So a lot of WWE content will be published right here on Gridiron Ring's YouTube channel in the months and years to come. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, be sure to hit the little thumbs up button. Share this as well on social media. Like, follow, and subscribe on social media. Links in the description below. Hope to see everybody on May the 19th for live reactions play-by-play of WWE Money in the Bank.